this brings up the point of supply and demand and marketplace. So like if you want a relationship, you have to think about what does the other side want, and do you meet that need, right? So it's kind of like,
well, that brings back to the whole Liz the Wizard. I want it all for myself. This is how I want to run the show.
Right.
They're so used to being in the driver's seat that they're not seeing it from the perspective of the passenger side or like the back seat.
Yeah, so in order to make a market, you have to understand what the other side wants. So if you say, I want Apple stock for $1, but the other side says, I'm only willing to sell Apple stock for $1,000, there's no market there. Because neither side is thinking about what the other side wants. So if you know, if you try to buy something for $1, you know the other side's selling for $1,000, you have to like adjust your bid, right? So
but no one's wanting to adjust their bid.
That's yeah. So that's
so
what I'm saying.
What
like,
happens?
A lot of these high-powered, people looking for if they're looking for relationships, with many cases they need to lean into their feminine energy. They need to think about what the other side wants, because the other side wants, if you're looking for a masculine man, that masculine man's gonna want feminine energy. So you have to be the yin to their yang. So
unless you're willing to look for that feminine energy.
Yeah, if you're the masculine woman, then you gotta look for the feminine man. Right, in order for the feminine and masculine energy to come together.
Coexist. Okay.
So you have to understand yourself. So it's self-awareness. If you're that high power woman, you want to be in control, then you got to recognize, okay, I should target the feminine man, and see how that goes. But it comes down to, if you are looking, this applies to anything in life. If you want something, you have to think about, what does the other side want, and can I meet that need? So when it comes to relationships, like
that applies to relationships as well. Trying to ask what you want, your leverage it, like what is your value, right?
Yeah. So a lot of these high power women, if they truly ask themselves, what does that, if they want a masculine man, what does that masculine man want? They should understand that the masculine man doesn't care so much about their career or how much money they make. Yes, it's a plus. But
really? I think that they would be very.
They're impressed, but but that's not the main thing that they're looking for. That's like a side dish. What about the main course? The main course is this feminine energy that they're talking about. And if you don't offer that main course, and you just offer that side dish of extra income, like nice to haves, rather than the core thing of what they want, then you're not making that market. You're not meeting the other side's needs.
So what happens then with, can you explain more about values and how to see eye to eye? Like, because you have all this masculine and feminine, like, energies, whatever, floating around. But at the end of the day, as he's bringing it back to relationships and wanting relationships or needing whatever it is, how do you get what you want at the end of the day?
In what context?
In how aligning values and seeing other side and objective, like because everybody has their own ideas, thoughts, opinions, but you're trying to meet the other person. What if that clashes or doesn't fit right? Like, I think a lot of people, probably because of media and movies, you want those at least 80 to 99% of the time, the alignment of values to be like enmeshed. But in reality, it's, if you are lucky, that is like one of the matchmakers said, is like you can only agree, the best would be 70%. And someone said, I don't want 70%. I want 100%.
Yeah.
Or I want 90%. Where can I get that?
Yeah, so it comes out to understanding what does the other side want, and where there's a difference, participate in the process to help come to an agreement on what that value is. But also picking and choosing your battles. Like, where there's a difference in alignment, sometimes you gotta say, is it worth me trying to insist that this particular value, at the expense of the relationship?
Do you think because people probably too fixated on the outcome and results of, hey, I want us to match like 100%, instead of, as you said, as you highlighted and pointed out, working through the process and progress of figure out eye to eye or where you stand. And they don't have to 100% align up. You can have agree to disagree. There are a lot of people who have relationships that disagree, you know? So
yeah, you have to prioritize what values you're gonna fight for, and try to change the other person's mind, and which ones you're just gonna back off on. There are certain values that are important to a guy. In general, the guy's ego is pretty important. So, you know, for example, if a guy buys a nice car, BMW, right, and he's very proud of it, but then you come in and say, no, I actually like Mercedes. That's like your value of like say you grew up and you have some affinity to the Mercedes brand or for some reason, but like, is it worth it for you to push your value of saying this is better than your BMW at the expense of the guy's ego and the relationship? And you got to pick and choose your battles. That might be a value that might not be worth fighting for. Whereas another value, as in like maybe chores or the balance of like who does what, that's something that you want to fight for. So that you want to pick and choose which battles to fight for when it comes to value clashes.
And like how, not even picking and choosing, but it's more along the lines of think before you speak. You may have that idea pop up in your head, but you have to think, is that the right thing to say and do at that right point of time?
Yeah.
So I think it's more about being mindful.
Mindful of the consequences. If I say, I like this Mercedes better than your BMW, what's the consequence of that? That guy's ego is going to be hurt. You're going to feel good about yourself because But you're
putting someone else down
right.
to level yourself up. But that's a very superficial thing, and that doesn't last for a long time.
Right, so do you value yourself or do you value the relationship?
But I think it's, we talk about this, it stems back, it's due to gratification, instant gratification, basically. And we're having that so much more due to all these social media. So when we're
taught to value ourselves over the relationship. Exactly. And in order to make the relationship work, you have to value the relationship over yourself. So that's basically what it is.
Exactly. So we're trying to stress here that content, actions, words, they all have such a strong meaning, and they rub people the wrong way or a good way, but you have to be very mindful of what you do. And I think right now we need to hold everybody, not just yourself, accountable for that. And so I think that really stems back to the pain point of instant gratification. You're just doing it because it feels good at that moment. But does it feel good wears out after 10 seconds? It's like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, and it comes down to having an awareness of what those consequences are when you value A over something else. And a lot of people are not aware of those consequences.
Or sacrificing too
right.
at that moment in time.